Good evening. Very warm welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Let's get started. I'm going to share my screen and we'll get underway. So, but content coverage we will moderate as well, right? We will take limited hands and then limited hand sounds as well. So that way we can cover the content, focus remains there. So let's get started with our opening prayers. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagatgurum Krishnam Vande Jagatgurum. So Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening. A very warm welcome to all of you once again. So let's get started. We will get started with our soul soup segment like we always do. And then we'll get to the shloka discussion. We are on 5.7. That's what we have been discussing. So we'll continue there. So give me a sec. Let me pull up with that. Okay. So as part of soul soup segment, we spoke about that grudge part of it yesterday. We should not hold grudge against anyone for whatever reason. Today we will build on that. So as part of the series, we said that never hold a grudge against anyone. It's not a good idea to do that because it's like taking poison and waiting for the other person to die, which is not going to happen, right? So today, let's pose this question. What is it that gets worse when you nurse it? What is it one thing you cannot lose, get rid of by losing it? Its temper. And what is it that gets worse when you nurse it is bitterness? It just gets getting worse and worse and worse if you continue to harbor it. Now, if we rise above it by properly managing our attitude, then we'll jump ahead in our personal spiritual journey. And I'll tell you a quick story around it. Okay, so let's get started with the story. So here is I hope you like dogs. If you have animal lovers, I'm sure you're going to love this dog, right? So this is a dog, stray. I mean, he used to live in a village in the state of, Uttar Pradesh, India. I've just picked up Uttar Pradesh just for the sake of it, no particular affinity as such. So he used to have a very tough life, right? And he will just scavenge for food here and there, and then the villagers would throw in something and he'll get it occasionally, right? And that is how it will satiate its hunger rather, anger as well, by the way. And for most of the time this dog would be famished until there's another dog. As you see, it's got something special there. So it came from Allahabad, and it said that it's a nearby metropolitan city in Uttar Pradesh. It said, what are you doing here? Let's go to Allahabad, and if you come to me with Allahabad, your grueling lifestyle that you have, it's going to change. Because in Allahabad, you can feast on rasgullas, gulab jamun, jalebi, all that stuff I get to eat. So why don't you accompany me to Allahabad? So this dog said, really, it's an excellent idea. So let me accompany you. So they both decided to take the journey to Allahabad. So it's about 60 kilometers from the village where he was, and said, okay, we're going to cover about 12 kilometers per day. By rough maths, it's like 5 days it will take to reach there. But guess what? When they started off, so they started in the morning, and by 6 p.m. they had, covered about 12 kilometers, which they had decided. and they decided to rest for the evening outside a village. But guess what happens? You see a herd of dogs, and if you go to India, then dogs. There are dogs in every village, and they are very, very territorial. Okay, they don't like any other dogs like taking, coming in. So they don't welcome intruders at all. They don't like humans, so forget about other dogs, right? And then they are thought of spending the night there, but these dogs they confronted them, and they started barking and chased them away. And there were many of them, and these two dogs thought rather than picking up a confrontation with them, let's move to another village. They moved to another village. They kept on walking throughout the night, and they went to another village, and that's where some more dogs came and joined. They were territorial as well, and then they thought there's no point in confronting them, and they continued to move, and this phenomena continued. So what happened because of that is, instead of covering that journey in 5 days, they ended up covering it in 2 days. Okay, because they didn't stop, they didn't pick a fight there as well, right? So they continued on that halt. So the consequence was they could cover that journey pretty quickly. So if you look at it that way, they did not fight with other dogs. And it's like, what do you think of yourself? Let me teach you a lesson and stuff like that. If they had behaved in that manner, they would have gotten wounded and would have been unable to complete the journey. So there's something we can learn from that as well. We don't pick up fight just for the sake of it. If we continue to pick every battle that comes our way, it's not very wise of us, right? And if we have harbor bitterness around it and not stay focused on our goal, it is only going to be counterproductive for us only, not for anybody else. There was another dog, right? So he went into a room where he saw million reflect, not million, I mean, a lot of reflections. You've seen those mirrors where you can have reflections all over the place. So this dog, by his temperament, had a nature to growl or bark. So he did that. When he did that, he saw all the dogs, his own reflections, barking back at him. Right? He took it on his ego, a lot of bitterness. How dare they start barking back at me? And he started fighting with them. And it was not long before he was reduced to a pulp. Why? Because he was crashing against each of those mirrors, and finally ended up getting severely wounded himself. So that is what can happen when we pick up fights, when we have bitterness and lose focus around what did we truly set out to do, right? So that is why one of the spiritual lessons is not to hold a grudge, not only not to hold a grudge, but to not harbor resentment, bitterness towards anybody, because then it would derail your journey and the precious time would be lost. Hope we got some food for thought from this one. Now let's move on to our Bhagavad Gita shloka. What we would do from here on is we'll pick up 5 hands so that we get enough time to cover all that we have to cover for the content, and we'll rotate hands so that everybody gets a chance in case they don't get a chance on a particular day. Like always, we'll give preference to faces, then names. So let's get started. I'm going to recite the shloka and you're welcome to follow along. Regardless, you can do it, even if you don't get an opportunity here, you can always recite it at your place. योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्मभूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते. Let's take 5 hands.
श्री रम्या जी, राधे राधे।
राधे राधे श्री रम्या।
राधे राधे। योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्मा भूतात्मा कुर्वन् अपि न लिप्यते. Thank you.
Thank you, Shri Ramya. Very nice. Radhe Radhe.
दिनेश जी, राधे राधे।
राधे राधे। योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्मा भूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते. राधे राधे।
Radhe. Thank you. Very nice. Anishi. Radhe Radhe.
लक्ष्मी जी, राधे राधे।
या राधे राधे। योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्मा भूतात्मा कुर्वन् अपि न लिप्यते. राधे राधे। थैंक यू।
Let's take 2 more hands.
उदय कुमार जी, राधे राधे।
राधे राधे। योग युक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्म भूतात्मा कुर्वन् अपि न लिप्यते। राधे राधे।
Let's take one more hand.
रिया जी, राधे राधे।
राधे राधे। योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्म भूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते।
Very nice.
राधे राधे।
Thank you, Riya ji. Radhe Radhe. So this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying the Karam yogis who are, so Pragi ji didn't get a chance, so Pragi ji tomorrow you get the first preference. Okay, so let's note it down. And then move to Karam yogis who are of purified intellect and who control the mind and senses, see the soul of all souls in every living being. Though performing the kinds of actions, they are never entangled. So there are three things that come in this shloka. The attributes of a perfect Karam Yogi, which is Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma, and Jitendriya. So let's do a quick recap. This is the polysemic word, Atma, Vishuddhatma. It starts with the one who has got a pure Atma. Atma is pure in itself, but they have been able to remove the layers around it and situate it in its original state, right? That's essentially what it means. And then Vijitatma, which means the conqueror of the mind, one who has conquered the mind. And the third one is Sarva Bhutatma. So that is Sarva Bhutatma, that is soul of all the souls, which is God himself, right? So we spoke about that material consciousness, it comes easy and naturally to the ego. We don't have to put an effort for that, right? It just happens naturally to us, which is all about I am and my self-interest. Now, why does it come naturally to us? Let's understand that part, okay? There's a technicality for that. Material consciousness comes naturally to us because our mind and intellect, they are made up of Maya, material energy. And it has an affinity for the material energy around. It has a Sajatiya Sambandh. Sajatiya Sambandh means it belongs to the same clan, and it is cut from the same cloth as the material energy. So it has a natural inclination towards material things. Even we see, right, when we go to office, or let's say to some place, and we find somebody from our own place, our native place, our city, our state, our country, we have some kind of an affinity for it. So similarly, our mind and intellect, because it is made up of material energy, um, it has a natural tug or a pull or affinity towards the material world. It doesn't have to put in effort. It automatically goes there. And then it gets attracted towards it, and then we are anyway driven by our quest for happiness, right? And as part of that, we are looking for what is going to fulfill my self-interest, which thing is going to give me happiness, and we get attracted towards the material energy. It's very natural to us. And that is the material consciousness that we have had since eternal lifetimes. And that becomes part of our conditioning, okay, our conditioned state that we are in, because our first thought is to extract happiness from the world around us. It comes very naturally to us without we having to put in any effort around it. Now, this self-interest that we look at, it leads to rag and dvesh, love and hate. Okay, love is a positive attachment, hate is a negative attachment. They are actually two sides of the same coin only. Now, why do we have this feeling? It's like, okay, I like this, and this person is likely to fulfill my self-interest. And then we love that person, right? We form some kind of an attachment and start loving that person in the material world. And on the other hand, and it could be a thing as well, it's like you hanker for that, right? For that particular thing that you get attached to because you think it is going to fulfill your self-interest. And then whoever harms it, we hate that person. It's like hankering and aversion. I want this, I do not want this. right? So this phenomena continues, rag, dvesh, trap we fall into. So our life should not be a continuum or a sum total of things that we like and dislike. So Krishna is saying it has to be much more than that. You need to transcend both of these, like dislike, because world is as it is anyways. So we need to rise above this duality or that aspect of it, because when you do that and when you're situated in that, what accompanies afterwards is much higher than the feeling that you are temporary feeling that you are trying to enjoy out of that particular fleeting feeling that you're getting around that particular thing, object, or entity. Now, in that sense, what happened is crashed, right? So it needs to be aligned to God, is essentially what we are talking about. So it needs to break down. You see, it broke down. Something broke down like pieces of glass. By extending our consciousness, we need to, break those boundaries. It's like expanding your bubble and thinking. The thought that needs to come in our mind is, I am not alone. If you're not alone, then who is there with you? There's an entity who's always accompanying you, which is God. So what is the thought you need to bring in anyways? It is, God is both my protector and witness. So when you think about God, it's like somebody who's accompanying you has to accompany you. He has no choice. Okay, he's obliged to accompany you. But when we are thinking about God, this could be one of the thoughts that you need to have. He's both our witness as well as our protector. Okay, so if you can accompany and build that part, it says that you'll start feeling a sense of bliss from within. It's like when, let's say you are carrying some money along with you, or let's say you're carrying some kind of a power with you. It gives you a sense of accomplishment and a confidence and a feel good factor, right? Now here you are carrying God with you. If you truly start believing that or deepen that thought, just imagine how much good it will do to your confidence and your self-esteem and pretty much everything around you, right? It's like you're carrying the thing. There's nothing better thing to be carried around. And when that feeling is perpetuated, or you solidify that feeling or deepen that feeling, it's a great state to be in. Maharaji said that if you truly start believing, then, always remind yourself, then there will be a sense of assuredness. There's a sense of confidence, peace, bliss, all that thing will start accompanying you. And this sense of insecurity, fear, and worries and all those things will start taking a backseat all by itself. It's a very interesting tool if you think about it. God is actually, you can carry God around with you everywhere. He's always accompanying you. Right? It's a different matter that he's not choosing to reveal himself at this point, but in due course of time, that will also happen. So that is the thing that needs to be understood. And if you think about this love and hate, they said, right, there are two syllables that bind us to the world. Mameti, mine. Okay. And Namameti, three syllables, they actually are cause for liberation, not mine. So mera, mine is something that will bind you to this world. And not mine is something which is liberating. I think there's a story of, I think Guru Nanak Dev Ji, his father put him at a shop, right? So when he was giving the money back to, when somebody came and purchased something and he was supposed to give back money as part of the transaction, he said, ek, do, teen, that is the counting you do in Hindi, right? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 13 he stopped. 13, 13, 13, he kept on repeating. So that is the concept, right? Nothing is mera, nothing is mine. 13, 13, 13, right? So when we start building that, then we automatically get rid of all the anxieties and stuff like that, right? Even when we lose something in life, like let's say, somebody comes and we have borrowed a utensil from our neighbor, right? In India, it happens pretty frequently. You ask for sugar and then maybe you get a milk also in their bowl, and then the person comes and takes it back. Now, do you fight with them? Why are you taking your bowl back? No, that belongs to them. So similarly, when we lose things, and even relations for that matter, right? We could have somebody snatched away in our life, somebody near and dear one. Then we need to have that same kind of an acceptance. It never belonged to us, right? God had given us, and He's decided to take it back, as opposed to having mine, mera kind of an attitude towards that thing. So that is, I think, that's something that needs to deepen in our. Now, Bhagavatam states that Shresth devotee is the one who sees God everywhere, right? God sees everywhere. Our scriptures say, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. Siya Ram say Sab Jag Jani, right? If you think about scriptures, the saints, they see God everywhere. They can perceive divinity everywhere. And that is where what has been reiterated in this one, that Sarva Bhuteshu Yapashed Bhagvat Bhavam Atmana. You are able to see divinity or God everywhere. And they are the most advanced devotees, right? Yesterday we spoke about it. I'll bring that bubble again. So they are able to see that, okay, it's my Lord only who's seated within this person as well, even though that person on the exterior might not be your favorite person or something who plays on your nerves. But then we are able to see divinity in them as well. That's where we are truly cutting the spiritual corner. And so consequently, they see everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and understand that everything that exists is eternally situated within the Lord. Okay, that's a pretty advanced stage that our scriptures are talking about. Who are some of the examples? Gopis of Vrindavan. They had children and family, right? But if you talk about their attitude, they would see God everywhere. They would see, like pretty much Krishna everywhere, regardless of what they are doing. So there's a beautiful verse that Swamiji says, right, in Gopi Samvad with Uddhav. Let me pull it up here, I can do that. It says, Vatan में घाटन में वीथन में बागन में बेलन में वाटिका में फूलन में वन में दरारन में दीवारन में देहरी दरीचन में हीरन में हारन में भूषण में तन में कानन में कुंजन में गोपिन में गायन में गोकुल में गोधन में दामिनी में घर में जहाँ जहाँ देखूं तित शाम ही दिखाई दे मेरे शाम छाए रहियो नैनन में तन में मन में. So point here being that regardless of what they are doing, they can perceive and see Krishna everywhere, God everywhere. That is the state of the paripakva of the fructified devotion. That's the consequence of the peak of devotion, where you simply perceive divinity everywhere, right? When Uddhav comes and says, what kind of an intellectual understanding do you have? They said that we just have one man, and that has also been stolen by God, and that's all we perceive. So which man are you talking about here? So that is a stage basically of advanced devotees where they perceive divinity everywhere. There's nothing beyond that they could see, right? So gopis, that was an example. And then their bhakti was so elevated that even Narad said they are acharyas. They are the acharyas, or the what you call the role models for devotion as such, right? So there are tons of literature on Gopi Uddhav Samvad, the parikashtha or the epitome of bhakti and the epitome of Gyan Yoga. That conversation is pretty fascinating, if somebody wants to go through that. But this is an example. So when we get into that state, essentially, of Vishuddhatma or Vijitatma, that is where we start seeing, perceiving divinity everywhere, right? And this is the bubble I wanted to talk about. Okay, before I get into the bubble, let me talk about, okay, let me first get to the bubble and then I will talk about this because we have time. Yeah, this is the bubble we were talking about. So the first thing is you don't see bad in others. This is a starting point. If we have a tendency to simply look at bad in others, then that needs to be rectified. Okay, now if you are finding faults, that's fine, unless you are a doctor, lawyer, or a teacher. Okay, finding faults, probably parents as well to begin with, up to a certain age, and it's okay because that truly helps because of the context or the situation that you are in for others' correction, right? Doctors probably, if he won't find the fault, he will not cure the person. Lawyer has to find faults and the loopholes, right? Well, they're fighting the case, and of course, teacher has to do that because otherwise his pupil or students will not improve. And parents, of course, up to a certain age, they need to do that as well. But other than that, we should not get into that tendency of seeing bad in others. Then it becomes a mindset and a tendency as well. And it's not good for our journey because when we see bad in others, that bad thing that will start coming in us as well. The second is see good in others. Okay, we should focus on the good aspect because we all are a mixed bag, both good and bad. There are some good qualities that we are endowed with, and at the same time there are bad qualities that we have, right? It's a tussle between our higher nature and lower nature, and at times our lower nature overpowers our higher nature as well. And in those cases, if we are interacting with somebody, it's easy for our mind to go towards the fault or the bad things of others. So if we can focus on the good things, it's good for our spiritual journey. Third is see good in God, from good to God. Take another O out of it. Start seeing God in others, right? It's like that Swami Sant Namdev. So he was having a roti. He was preparing a roti, and a dog comes and runs away with the roti. So when he runs away with the roti, then Sant Namdev also runs behind it. He said, "Oh my God, where are you going? I forgot to put ghee on it. At least let me put the ghee and then take it." So he's seeing God in that act of dog as well, right? So that is another state, okay. And then even higher than that state is the Paramhans state, where you see. So now let me put some. Now that is the seeing God in everything. Now it's like the fly is the analogy. When you see that, even the crows for that matter, you would see them always congregating around garbage and filthy stuff. So that tendency we should not have, otherwise we'll become like that. Seeing good in others is like honeybee. You choose, pick and choose what you want to be surrounded with, what kind of things, talks you want to get engaged in. Is it a pure gossip, criticism of somebody, or are you focusing on something good or things that actually uplift us? So it's better to be a honeybee than a simple fly. And then you see the swans congregating in the placid, tranquil lakes. That is because, and that is where you see God in others. So it's like if there's a milk offered in front of you, you would pick the milk part and reject the water part of it. They do have that ability to do that. And the highest one, which becomes a little impractical in this material world, is the Paramhans thing. Paramhanses, they see divinity everywhere. Now, if you see divinity everywhere, then it's difficult to operate, right? So certain saints, although they are Paramhans, they step down to the level of Hans so that they can operate effectively in this world. Like, for example, Vedvyas, he was a Paramhans, but then if he would see God even in rice and in books and everything, then they cannot operate. They may choose to get into the Paramhans state in seclusion during the later part of their lives when they know now that they have to depart or they have to close their Leela. But then typically when they are in this world, they step down. They take a step down so that they can operate effectively. Maharaj for that matter, right? He is a Paramhans as well. And he would manifest those symptoms when it becomes intolerable. It's like a pressure cooker. The whistle is there, so but sometimes the lid is like the whistle comes out completely, the pressure is brewing up, but sometimes the whistle just blows up. So it can happen with Paramhansa, where it's that divine ecstasy is so powerful that they find it very difficult to control it, and it manifests in forms of Ashtasattvic bhavs that we can talk about in one of the sessions as well. But the point here is these are the different possibilities. For us, we have to really introspect and see, at least we should be at the honeybee stage and then move, gravitate towards the Hans stage. This is the progression. And then hopefully Paramhans, one of these stages. So this is how it goes. And which brought it to the question that how would you tackle emotional physical abuse with this spiritual paradigm? We did not conclude this discussion yesterday because we had a beautiful uh, presentation by Sri Ramya, which did not give us an opportunity because it was so good that we continue to focus on that. So maybe we can take it up a little bit today. But before we get into that, I wanted to bring up something else as well. And what is that? I wanted to talk a little bit about it, and then we get into that discussion, which is which is which is which is the fundraiser for our dear Swamiji for his dream project. Okay. Now, for those of you who might be new to this, I just wanted to call that out that Swamiji has envisioned a very grand project of building a university. Swamiji is the one who's our spiritual mentor, because of which we have these platform, these sessions, and he's written tons and tons of book, including the book that we refer to, the Song of God, Bhagavad Gita, that we use for our presentations and discussions here as well, right? And then a lot of other books as well. And then he has spent 40 years, more than 40 plus years of his life serving his Guru, Kripaloji Maharaj, right? And helping people like us to take on the path of spirituality and clarifying our doubts and actually paving the way for us to access this esoteric wisdom and knowledge, right? So he's undertaken a project to build a university, which is going to be a grand university in the state of Orissa in India. And this university, the way it is envisioned is that it is going to be the fountainhead or the nucleus or to disseminate Vedic wisdom in the years to come. And I have a feeling that it is going to revive the days of Takshila and Nalanda that Bharat used to have in the past, right? So it's a very one of his dream project. And knowing Swamiji, if he puts his mind to something, you can only expect quality and state of art stuff. And we have seen some of the pictures of this university coming up. It is taking shape as an opportunity to give it back to help our Guru serve his mission in whatever possible way we could. And we congregated as a team last year. I just wanted to call that out. Right now we have like close to 30 members in our team. As you can see, some pictures, some names, and we all have enrolled as an angel for him. Angel means it's a give or get kind of a commitment we have taken to support this university project. And I'm happy to announce that last year, if you look at it, we collected close to 80K, which is phenomenal, right? For the Bhagavad Gita group alone to collect 80K. And this year that it continues and we have upped our target to 200K. So cumulatively, so far we have come 100K, which is a great milestone, I would say, a fantastic achievement. But there's a long way to go. So there are multiple ways you can get associated with it. We have this, what do you call that? If you look at it now, we have introduced this barcode here as well, but I'll put a link for this in the chat or of the page where you can either enroll as a team or you can open up an individual page as well. We are doing it as a team because it gives you a sense of, doing it as a team and inspire each other. You could open your page separately. It all rolls up to the university only. And I've posted the link on our chat as well. You can go check it out. You can come in as a member, join the team and start participating, and we have a lot of exciting fundraisers planned for it. But go ahead and check it out. We have upped the target and all of us have renewed our commitment for this year as well. So 200K is what we are targeting for as a group. Pretty achievable, I would say. We have a lot of time, but it'll be good if we continue to make an incremental progress. And like I said, university would get built regardless. Like Ram Setu was supposed to get built. It's not that if the monkeys and the squirrels and everybody had not pitched in, the Setu would have gotten built. It's just an opportunity for us to take that holy dip in the process and earn some spiritual paramarth for ourselves. Okay, so look at it like a unique opportunity. Do check it out. I posted the link as well, or you can simply take this, you can scan it through this thing and do that. So just wanted to call that out. Any questions, if you have, please put it in the feedback tracker. I'm more than happy to get back to you on this one. Like I said, you have an opportunity to either join as a member of the team or you could do it individually as well. So whatever little you can do, anything from $1 to whatever you think is reasonable, and you can do, I think that will go a long way in helping this noble cause. So with that said, let me come back to the question that we want to tackle a little bit, because before we move on, anybody who wants to take that question, because we have a spiritual paradigm and at the same time we could be in situations, extreme situations. So how do we resolve this kind of a thing in these kind of situations? Anybody who has any thoughts around it? Yes, Sandhya.
There is a question from Manisha ji. I thought I can also put that across while we'll be discussing
Sure.
this.
Mm-hmm.
When we see God in anyone, how to exactly we can deal with the wrongdoings while seeing divinity in particular? Any tip to follow?
Anybody who wants to take that question? So you see, this could happen. Divinity, it's like, let's say somebody's provoking you, right? In that case, you could assume it might be, God seated within that person who's testing you for your tolerance and stuff like that, right? One way is looking at that way. Now, Krishna is testing you. to see, how tolerant you are around this situation, right? Or he is smiling, looking at you and seeing how you're going to react now. So those kind of triggers would be there. But then you could be in some extreme situations as well, right? You could be dealing with people who are like, I'll talk about the 4 categories of people, right? There are people who derive pleasure by troubling others as well. Now, how do you reconcile this fact is where I wanted to have a bit of a discussion. Okay. It's a nuanced discussion, and that is why I posed this question. Maybe we'll try to tackle that. Anybody wants to take that? Shilpa, yes, go ahead.
So I think the divinity question, so my first example, sorry. Sorry, everyone. I'm in the middle of something, so I apologize.
No worries.
Radhe Radhe, everyone. Radhe Radhe, Nitinji, sir.
Radhe Radhe.
So my first example is that when Draupadi ji was being ridiculed in the Sabha, in the Kaurav and the Pandav Sabha, it's very difficult for anyone to see divinity at that moment. But I think the divinity wasn't the act of the people ridiculing her, or the divinity of the people who stayed quiet, but the divinity of God who came to help her in that moment. And I know that was a lila, but that was for the rest of us. Similarly, taking some things in my personal life, of course, I had to go through certain things in my personal life. So it wasn't the divinity of the other people who made me go through things in my life, or the ups and downs that I went through in my life. But the divinity was that that God was there to catch me. And it's not something that I saw right away. It was something that I saw in a very reflective manner. So I think that journey is divinity. So it's not something that will happen quick. That's what I think divinity is. It's a lesson for us. It's a lesson for someone else. There are more than one. There are more than one sides to the prism, and that's what I think it is. So it is difficult, but it's not difficult. It's not usually the people who are doing it, but it's another angle, and that's what we need to see.
No, I think you've articulated it very well, and like I said, it's going to be a bit nuanced discussion for sure. I think the way I understand it is like, when you say look at divinity, right? Let's understand that analytically, philosophically, or the big picture part of it. That means God is seated within them. He's the energizer. He's not the inspirer as yet, right? But he's seated within them for sure. So that is why I think even that thing that I quoted yesterday from Bible, right? So God forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing, right? So God is seated within them as well. That doesn't mean God is doing that act, right? So divinity means, of course, you understand God is seated even in them. However, they do have a baggage that they're dealing with, right? If they were situated in that perfect understanding that divinity, or they are a soul, then these kind of behaviors would not manifest at all. So you understand that big picture part of it. That means you don't harbor bitterness towards that thing. It's a mind, body, ego, sanskar, a lot of that complex that is at play, right? From the other entity who might be unfavorable to you. But actually, soul is pure. If you think about soul as such, soul is not tainted by any of it, right? It's their sanskars, it's their thought process, mind, intellect, all that thing is complex at play, which is manifesting in a way that is it is happening, right? So for they don't know what they are doing, kind of a deal. So you forgive them in that sense, but at the same time, of course, you have to take your safeguard around it, right? But you don't forget the big picture that, okay, God is seated. So if you're going to have a sense of vengeance or a bitterness, that is something you need to guard against. That's pretty much it. Now, until you are paramhans would see divinity everywhere, right? That is an advanced stage. But by the time you would have reached that stage, you would already conquered this rag dvesh and getting over, transcending over the fleeting emotions that we get based on the behavior of people. So you would have already transcended that. Who was that guy? Babri San. Babri San. There was a guy, Babri San. He was Ghatotkach's son. And he was so powerful. Krishna is Krishna, right? He knew this guy has, when he came to know that World War Zero has started to happen, right? Before World War One happened, that was the biggest war. Let me go and participate as well. And Krishna knew that if he's going to come and join an army on Kaurava's side, he's going to tilt the scales just like that. Okay, that is how powerful he was. He was Ghatotkach's son. Ghatotkach was Bhim's son. So what Krishna goes and tells him on the way, he captures him on the way, only intercepts him on the way and say, hey, where are you going? He said, I'm going to fight the war. He said, show me your power. What can you do? So he just took an arrow and shot an arrow, and he took all the leaves from a tree and put it at Krishna's feet. Krishna said, wow, I'm really impressed. So that he said, okay, I'm going to ask you something. Babri said, yeah, sure, go ahead and ask me. He said, give me your head. So Babri San, without even blinking an eyelid, he cut his head and gave it to him. Okay, but then he asked him, what do you want to? He said, I want to watch the whole war unfold. He did not think about, offering it to Krishna. That is the level of Babri San was. Now he placed it head at a hilltop somewhere where he could witness the entire spectacle unfolding in front of him. That place is called Khatu Sham, I believe, in Rajasthan. There's a temple of Babri San. So Krishna made him watch the war, and after 18 days, when the war was over, Krishna said, what did you watch? What did you see in the war? He said, I just saw you fighting, you, and everywhere it was just you. So he was at the Paramhansa Avastha. Right? So he was at that stage. But for us ordinary mortals, by the time we reach that stage, we would have conquered, transcended, even harboring, negative thoughts about people who harm us. So you would have reached that. But the point is, for now, we can understand that God is permeated in everything. Okay, regardless of which caste, creed, religion that person belongs to. It's not like only Hindus have God seated with them, others they don't. Everybody has God. So that bitterness, resentment aspect that we spoke about, grudge, is something that we need to systematically weed out because of that thing, nothing more than that. That doesn't mean you can't take protective measures to safeguard your interest or to, effectively operate in the relationship that you might have gotten stuck in. All that is fine, but the bitterness, resentment is something when we forget that big picture, God is seated within them as well, is how I at least understand. Yes, Pratyusha, you want to add something?
नितिन भाई उनका नाम था बारबरिका. दिस इज फ्रॉम मोनिका जी.
Barbarica,
जी. सन ऑफ घटोत्कच.
not Babri San.
No, it says Barbarica.
Barbarica, okay. Barbaric, I don't know. I mean, I'll check it out. But all I know is that Khatu Sham is a temple in
जी
Rajasthan
जी जी.
for that. Okay,
That's
Barbarica. Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, maybe that was one of this was his nickname in that case. Okay. Anyways, let's move on.
Monica ji, yeah, she's there. Monica, Radhe Radhe.
Yes.
Radhe Radhe. It's Barbaric, not
Barbaric.
Ka.
Sorry, yeah.
Yes. And also when Krishna when he sees Barbaric, and obviously he knows who he was, Krishna, he says, when he wanted to ask him to show his powers, Barbaric said, I'll do anything if I'm not able to do what you ask me to do. So he says that this particular tree peers through all the leaves, and one of the leaves he actually puts under his own feet. So he presses the whole all the leaves of the tree, and then his arrow comes and starts rotating around Krishna's feet. But then obviously he couldn't fulfill everything, so Krishna being Krishna, he asked him and he had to do it.
Well, thank you for giving the right story. Whatever my vague memory helped me with that, I just went with that. But I knew that he was a Paramahansa, who just saw Krishna for 18 days. Just imagine the state of his mind, and who did not even think twice before offering his head Krishna. So yeah. Thank you, Monica ji, for correcting about and Barbaric ji. Okay. Yes, who's next? Maybe we can take a few more hands. We have time, right? Yeah, we have time.
Everyone, Radhe Radhe, sir.
Yes.
Sir, like nothing new, what you said, but I think this is like a journey where where we are attaching our mind to, that is what we think. So, first in that fly state, if we are trying that I don't want to think about bad in others continuously, that is what we are thinking. Then, we come above that and we try to feel good. Then that is an improvement. And then we, see divinity in others and so forth. But how is it helpful in our emotional and physical abuse? I feel that it will also depend upon the stage that we are in, whether it is a fly stage, B stage, hums, paramhums.
True.
Because if we are at the fly stage, we'll keep ruminating on the past, we'll keep thinking, and if we are seeing the good, then we will say, yeah, if this happened, do I have to constantly think about it or learn from it? Or if the situation is ongoing, then probably try to get ourselves out of that situation or learn to deal with it. Something. And use it for our benefit.
True.
And eventually it will get you to the next stage because we are having that good bad, kind of juggling going on. And only when we go out of it, we can get into that next stage.
True. Thank you, Pratisha. I think you summed it up
Thank you.
really well, very well. That's true. I mean, it said, right? Forgive the person, but do not forget the lesson. That is the key. You still have to be smart about, learning the lessons around it, but no bitterness, resentment, and forgiveness has to be there, because if you harbor it, then you're doing yourself harm. Like we are talking in our fulfillment happiness series, right? It's bitterness and grudges. They are not good thing. It erodes you from internally and can deplete your spiritual merit in no time. Yes, Sandhya, you wanted to add something? Minuji has also raised her hand. Yep.
I wanted to ask actually, so negative kind of behavior from people, yeah, we are discussing what all can be done. Other side, positive, like those who seem to reflect purity and positivity. So in those cases, how do we like control ourselves from not wanting to, like rag aspect basically, where you see purity in people, where you see
Knowledge.
that it is manifesting through.
Knowledge part of it, again, we need to bring in the knowledge. Like it's another beggar we are trying to perceive as a millionaire. Okay, so they also have a limitation here, because only pure thing we know is God and Guru. So any rag, and then Maharajji's Akate name, right? Things that you repose your happiness and finally are going to disappoint you or give you sadness.
But
So
that's for material things.
yeah, material. So you pick the positive part of it without, so you can again objectify that thing in your head, right? Focus on the positive thing without getting attached to that. Rag only has to be in God and Guru, right? That's a very clear injunction from our scriptures. If you put it in people, personal objects and entities, then do it at your own risk, because at best they can take you to sattva only.
So in the
Sattva is
category,
binding.
sorry, so in the category of parikar, only Guru will come.
Parikar, when you talk about it, now if you're doing Roop Dhyan, then if you're doing Roop Dhyan on Yashoda Maiya along with Krishna, that is also Parikar, right? If you're doing Dhansuk, Mansuk, and pretty much all the Leelas that Krishna is doing, those Parikars are covered. He said, I have no problem with that at all, right? So that is all covered in that sense, right? So all those five things that Nam, Roop, Gun, Leela, Dham, they're all covered. Even if you're thinking about Vrindavan, right? Golok Vrindavan, even though you haven't seen it, but visualizing it, okay, that is the grove, this is the Nidhi one, and all that will give you the same benefit, right? It's a thought behind that. So all five things will give you the same benefit. God has given us variety and spice in that sense. If you think about Nanda Baba also, right? For the Sudama also, for that matter, they are all like part of his Leelas. So everything will give the same benefit. Yes, Kumarji. Okay, don't forget the signing up as an angel as well, by the way. And again, I want to call out, you guys have done a fantastic It's a great teamwork to raise 6 figures. But we can add another 6 figures this year collectively for sure. So let's keep inspiring each other and getting more angels enrolled and doing all the fun stuff. I'm already hearing about some exciting stuff during Holi, colorful idlis and whatnot, and a lot of things planned. So maybe pani puri stalls as well. So a lot of things that we do. So let's keep the momentum going. It's a unique opportunity for all of us to contribute something and give back in our little way, I would say. See, we will be moving pebbles, to be honest, if you think about it in the grand scheme of things. How much Swamiji said, I think he was talking about maybe 7.5 million or something like that for this year. So in that sense, it is a very insignificant thing, but whatever we can do, everything counts, right? So, and they say that it's not given from the top of your wallet, but from the bottom of your heart. So even if you do a little bit, and but that exercise itself is very, very enriching and rewarding, because when you ask for money or you put yourself in front of public, something changes in you, and that something that changes is very, very rewarding, very, very enriching. And I like that quote from Swamiji, where he said that मर जाऊं ना मांगूं अपने तन के काज, परमारथ के कारण तनिक ना आए मुझे लाज. So when it comes to myself, I will die, but not beg. But when it is related to seeking for God and Guru, I will become shameless. It doesn't matter at that point. So it's a very good attitude to have, and a very profound thing. I think Kabir Das. Yes, let's hear from Minuji. You wanted to add something? And then Rahul and Kumarji.
Radhe Radhe. It reminds me, like saying about the physical or emotional abuse. If you don't take it, it reminds me of a story of Gautam Buddha. Somebody kept on abusing him for the whole day, and then in the evening he asked him, have you eaten your dinner? Or in other words, if somebody gives you a gift, or you don't accept it, or whatever abuse, it goes back to you. So this is what I feel, so
Yes,
we
Minuji.
have to be tolerant, and we have to feel that God is within everybody, and if they are doing or harming anybody, it will affect them more than anybody else.
Very true. It's true. I think you said dinner, but I think Buddha had said give him glucose because he got tired and really fatigued after abusing him. But
Whatever, they asking something to give him to eat something, still he was concerned about him, like he was not affected by his abuse.
right. So yeah, he kept on abusing, and then Buddha said give him some food and water so that he can get energy and start doing this act again. This person said, are you made up of wood or stone?
Yes.
And he said, you know what, if somebody gives you a present and you don't accept it, with whom does it remain? Right.
Yeah.
And second, other thing is aspect, we have to think about it. See, if we are adorning, if your focus is on your growth and we are trying to adorn ourselves with the real jewels from inside, that will flow out. We can only give that we have accumulated inside, right? So, and if somebody is full up of garbage, that's the only thing that they can give. Then you simply pray and wish for them, but don't harbor any resentment. It's like, all right, we understand that is the point. I mean, just move away or take the protective measure, whatever is needed for yourself, but not getting upset or harboring resentment or grudge is the key thing that we need to ward against. It doesn't help. Yes, Rahul, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. I just wanted to read a comment from Raji. He mentioned that Babri-san or Barbaric, he had hit 3 arrows. One arrow marked all the targets, second marked to exclude all the non-targets, and third one hits all the targets. And Shri Krishna placed one leaf under his foot to test his power. And the third arrow, after hitting all the other targets, comes and hovers over Shri Krishna's foot. So that was.
Thank you for clarifying that. I think, Arunji, if you're listening, I think you can put it as a multiple choice question, okay, to sum it all up. Okay, which answer is right? Okay, anyways, we are going to have a different segment this time, this Thursday, where we are going to take up some case study and, take up some reference to see how we can tackle some of the scenarios, practical scenarios that we experience in life or adversities that we can go through. So we are going to try that out and see how that goes. Yes, Kumarji, please go ahead.
Jai Shri Ram, Jai Hanuman. So an interesting tidbit about Barbaric, right? So
Babrisan or Barbaric? Okay, tell me where your vote goes.
Barbaric. Actually, I remember sometime back we
Barbaric is an
discussed this as
English word.
well.
I'm pretty sure he did not know what is a barbaric means. Okay, but anyways, I'll go with that
If
name.
you remember, we had the discussion long time back on the same thing as well. But
Okay.
anyways, so yeah, whoever it is. So Krishna, why does he ask for his head? Okay, so
Because he did not have a tail. Okay, that's why he asked for his head.
yeah, even tail is okay, right? But head means you cannot even fight.
Okay.
Tail you can just cut it off. So the issue is Barbaric will fight only from the side, from the weaker side. Okay, so what? Pandavas were the weaker side, right? Yes, but when he fights with the Pandavas, and he is so powerful, right? Which he showed the powers, he will make Kauravas the weaker side. Then, when they are the weaker side, you go and fight for them, and that would make this a topsy-turvy game, like a very confusing game. Krishna said, "I don't want to deal with this stuff." So, obviously, he didn't want him to fight. So anyway, so that was the story as it goes. Thank you. Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram. Okay, it reminds me of, there were 4 guys who were driving a car and an old man comes in front of them. Okay, and he gets hit. So this old man says, "What are you doing?" And these two, the 4 guys, they come out of the car. He said, "You didn't find a better car to die in front of and you picked the park." He said, "You think I am an old man and you are, trying to bully me here. And first of all, you tried to hit and run and all that stuff." They said, "Okay, you think?" And he said, "I am single, you are 4." So 2 of them come to this old man's side. He said, "Is it okay now?" So the old man, then the 2 on the other side said, "Now you have become 3." So these 2 guys say, "Okay, old man, you go away, we'll tackle both of them." So which side became stronger? Which one, just reminded me of that joke. Nevertheless, it's 9:56. Maybe one more hand we can take. Keshavji, you are going to tell us something very insightful. So please go ahead. And then we'll wrap up our session because we have 3 more minutes. So we can do that. I think then we have a next session coming in. Yes, Keshavji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, I heard about Mahatma Buddha. I mean, he can say worldly things he can give, impart. But when at the time of his last breath, his most favorite disciple asked him, "What will happen to us? Hamara kya hoga?" So what were his words? Apo Deepo Bhav. You have to lit that light in yourself, by yourself, all yourself. Nobody else can help you. So that is the biggest and the most important message of Mahatma Buddha. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Keshavji. Thank you so much. Yes. They say, right, Guru, Chela, both. Guru can only provide the guidance, but then we have to do our own work. If Krishna or Guru could do that for us, then the job would become so easy, right? He'll say, "You don't have to do anything. I'll do it for you." But we only have to take our own flight and complete our own journey. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, we have 2 more minutes. Any parting thoughts? Yes, Ajitji, real quick, 120 seconds before we.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Actually, Nitinji, you said that God is sitting in everywhere, every in each person, and still we find that he is doing a wrong thing. So can we say the example of sun crowded by the clouds and sun becomes ineffective in that case?
Not ineffective. Sun has chosen. We'll talk about the last aspect of this shloka where we say one of the thing is only a witness. Okay, his job is only witness. Other is enjoying the fruits. The second bird is only being a witness. Now you say what kind of a job it is? Why are you just being a witness? Do something. So he said, "I can do kripa, but you're not asking for it." We'll talk about that, but it's not that it becomes ineffective. If it chooses, it could, but then he's also bound by his laws, right? That is why God is not whimsical. It's a part of this perfect creation. If he were to take control just like that, then there's no need for Bhagavad Gita, right? He can end it in one shloka for Arjun. So we'll continue. It's a very philosophical discussion, Ajitji. We'll continue on that. I think 60 minutes will not be able to do justice to that. So we'll continue it tomorrow. I think it's a good question that you have brought up. So we'll talk about it. And again, refer to the remaining part of the discussion that anyway we are yet to cover. But yeah, it's a very good question that you brought up, and we'll continue on this discussion tomorrow. With that said, please fill out the feedback tracker if there are any questions or any more things that you want to discuss, because we'll have our concluding session, including our spiritual cash up session tomorrow. We know how exciting that has been going. So I look forward to meeting you all tomorrow. And over to you, Ajay and Sunil Bhai. Radhe Radhe and good night from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitin ji. Thank